Have you ever really thought about the journey of the wise men? We hear about them every Christmas, 3 wise men from the east following a star. But their story is so much deeper than just a nativity scene. The Bible tells us in Matthew chapter 2 that these men saw a star in the sky and recognized it as a sign that the King of the Jews had been born. That means they had knowledge of the prophecies and were watching for the signs. They were prepared. And their journey wasn't a short trip down the road. Some scholars believe it could have taken months, even up to 2 years of travel through deserts, mountains, and dangerous roads. Yet they pressed on. Why? Because finding Jesus was worth the journey. When they finally arrived in Bethlehem, they didn't just meet him casually. The Bible says they bowed down and worshiped him. These were wealthy, educated, powerful men. And they laid their treasures at the feet of a child: gold, frankincense, and myrrh, gifts that carried deep symbolic meaning. Gold fit for a king, frankincense used in worship, pointing to his divinity, and myrrh, often used for burial, foreshadowing the sacrifice he would one day make. But here's something you may not know. Why are they called the 3 wise men? The Bible never actually says there were 3. It simply says wise men from the east came to Jerusalem. The original word used is Magi. That's where we get the word Magi. These men were likely scholars, advisors, or astrologers from Persia or Babylon. They studied the stars in ancient writings, which is why they recognized the star as a sign of the Messiah's birth. So why do we always picture 3? Because they brought 3 gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Over time, people assumed each gift came from one man, and the tradition of 3 wise men stuck. Later, they were even referred to as kings because of Old Testament prophecies like Psalm 72, which speak of kings bringing gifts to the Messiah. But that raises another question. How did these men, Gentiles from far away, even know to look for the Messiah? Well, think about this. Centuries before Jesus was born, the Jewish people were taken into captivity in Babylon. During that time, prophets like Daniel served in the royal courts. In fact, Daniel was placed in charge of the wise men, the Magi, of Babylon. That means he would have taught them about the God of Israel and the promise of a coming king. It's very possible that Daniel's teachings were preserved and passed down among the Magi for generations. And then there's the prophecy in Numbers 24:17. A star shall come out of Jacob, a scepter shall rise out of Israel. That's a prophecy about a ruler connected to a star, exactly what the Magi were looking for. Even after the exile ended, many Jews stayed behind in Babylon and Persia. Their scriptures and traditions would have remained in those lands, so the Magi, being scholars, could have studied these prophecies and connected them with what they saw in the sky. So when they saw that star, they knew the prophecy had been fulfilled. The King of the Jews had been born. And here's what's beautiful. These weren't Jewish priests or religious leaders. These were outsiders, yet they sought Jesus. They bowed before him, and they offered their treasures as an act of worship. Their story reminds us of this truth. Finding Jesus is worth any distance, any cost, and any sacrifice. So the question for us today is, are we willing to seek him with the same passion? Are we willing to bow our lives down before him just like the wise men did? Because when you truly encounter Jesus like they did, you can't leave the same way you came.